Republican strategist Frank Luntz joins us now from Orlando. Frank, good focus group, but I know you've also been looking at the numbers overall. Give us a sense of the mood now. Just where do voters stand on things?
Well, it's incredible that we're only in March of an election cycle, and yet Hillary Clinton's got a 53% negative rating and Donald Trump a 63% negative rating, according to Gallup. We've never had a situation in a presidential election where both likely candidates are this negative this early in the campaign. It's before they've gone at each other. And in fact, in the last 9 surveys that have been taken since the 1st of February, Hillary Clinton has an advantage in 8 out of 9, but in almost every case, that advantage is at the margin of error. This campaign is going to be incredibly close, incredibly nasty, and those negatives are likely to climb as we get closer to Election Day.
Yeah, Frank, a lot of people are saying that this is going to be a demolition derby of a campaign. In other words, these candidates are going to sink. If we thought it was bad before this, they're going to sink to the bottom as they continue to attack each other. In the focus group, no one seemed to like either Clinton or Trump. So what stood out to you the most? What was the most illuminating fact there?
Each group had, and we had Republicans and Democrats there. For those that normally vote Republican, their issue was Donald Trump and outsourcing. They didn't feel that what he said is necessarily what he has done. And on the Democratic side, the concern was about Benghazi, but even greater than that, the lack of honesty and candor from the former Secretary of State. Each of these people had the same conclusion, that no matter what Clinton and Trump tell them, they are not prepared to support them. They're very distraught about how the campaign has gone so far, and they don't even know if they'll vote.
And one of your participants actually said that Trump has inspired a lot of people to come out and vote, but to vote against him. And I'm wondering if you feel that this may be the way this presidential election is going, that instead of voting for a candidate, it's just anyone but fill in the blank.
Exactly. It's the lesser of two evils. And what I don't see, because I'm always trying to figure out what could those candidates say. And in Hillary Clinton's case, she would need to do an interview, maybe with your Charlie Rose, where she just comes clean, where she shows more candor and a little bit more of her heart, because people view her as being very staged and inauthentic. In Donald Trump's case, it really needs to be a show of humility. Although the problem is, he's as likely to show humility as I am likely to pass up a buffet. It just doesn't happen.
Frank, I got to ask you, so clearly people don't like either of these candidates, but I'm curious just about in the way that they present themselves to the American people. Whatever you think about Hillary Clinton, she clearly has deep foreign policy experience. She has deep experience when it comes to maneuvering Washington. When you hear Donald Trump say something like he wants to do things that are worse than waterboarding, he walks it back because he says he wants to do things within the law. But to me, it's not that question. The question is, he doesn't even know the laws. Do people think about that?
Well, you're asking the question about experience, or you could even expand it to policy. And the fact is, and it is a fact, there are millions of Americans who are not voting on policy. They're voting on personality, on persona. And they look at these two candidates, and there are a significant percentage. In Hillary Clinton's case, about 40%. In Donald Trump's case, about 30 to 35%, who regard them favorably, in some cases very favorably. But this negativity and the frustration is that they feel, this segment of the electorate that we focus group feels that neither candidate are particularly candid, that neither of them really show a level of honesty that they're looking for. And so it doesn't have to do with the jobs that they've held. It doesn't have to do with the policy pronouncements they've made. And it has everything to do with who they are as people. And when you know Trump as well as you do, and you know Clinton as well as you do, it's very hard, if not impossible, to change the perception of someone once you've decided that either they do or don't have the integrity necessary to be elected president of the United States.
Yeah, the group made several references to a third-party candidate, and I'm wondering if this is not perhaps the best environment, the best year for a third-party candidate to emerge and maybe actually make some headway.
And what's interesting is that not only did they have a consensus of who that third-party candidate should be, but I'll tell you, that third-party candidate would start with a significant percentage of the vote.
But Frank, if there is a third-party candidate,
Hold on.
Oh,
Aren't you going to ask me who that is?
who are they saying they'd like to see?
To my surprise, Bernie Sanders.
Really?
Really?
And not for his policies. That we had Republicans in the group who said that they disagreed with everything that he stood for, but they believe that he is honest, sincere. They believe that he says what he means and means what he says, and that's what they're looking for. And I cannot emphasize that more. That we are leaving the time of where policies mattered most, and we are entering the time when persona matters most. And I have to tell you, with all this feeling of betrayal, with all this anger towards the economy, big corporations, Washington and Wall Street, integrity is the most important attribute a candidate can have. And with Bernie Sanders, even some Republicans think that he's the candidate with the most integrity.
Well, I guess, Vlad and I expressed some surprise, but actually when you look at the numbers and some of the polls in terms of favorability, he's doing better than almost everyone else.
Than everybody else. Sanders today has the highest net favorability of any of the 5 candidates who are still in the race.
And Frank, what I was going to say is that before you said Bernie Sanders, I thought to myself, well, a third-party candidate would just galvanize the base of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, because they'd say, well, this person hasn't been involved in the race. How can you come in as a spoiler? But Bernie Sanders has been there from the beginning, so that makes sense.
And people have gotten to know him. And he may be the oldest, can't think of it. He is the oldest candidate, and his strongest supporters are young enough not just to be his grandchildren, but in some cases his great-grandchildren, and yet they still find him to be authentic and genuine, which is what they're looking for in the next president.
Very interesting stuff.
Not a novel idea, really.
No, not for sure, for sure. Frank Luntz, thank you so much. We appreciate it as always, sir.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.